Today's video dedication is for Whiskey Jack. Brenard versus Ballooner, the Eldraine, and Calyx. Once again, during this play session, a typical Magic Online one-lander. Luckily get a free one in multiplayer. That is a lot better. Yeah, can actually get down Anointed Procession reasonably quickly, so we keep. Plenty of ramp from Calyx. A turn 1 mana crypt allows into a Nature's Law. Bloom Tender from the Eldraine. And we've got a friend of the channel here. It will be it's the Ballooner player, and he wishes well to Lucy the cat. Lucy is downstairs in his hammock at the moment. Cretin bought him one of those cat tower things, like a giant scratch post that goes from the floor to the ceiling, and there's a hammock on it, and we're going to have him surgically removed from it eventually, I think. Alright, into another land. Nearly played that then. We need the green into a 3 visits. And just to add credence to the fact that this is going to be a good game for Calyx, Enchantress's presence on turn 2. Harabraz Druid is, just a means of making a mana dork. I wouldn't have thought they'd gone ally tribal here. And we take 1 from the Bloom Tender. First commander of the game is Ballooner. We draw into Mondrak. Use that as a sack outlet at some point, get down the plains, and we can set up with the Anointed Procession, I think. Hope that the Calyx doesn't have a means of removal. Calyx into play, putting a plus counter on itself, and there's a Hall of Heliod's Generosity as well. Wow, a Shield of the Oversoul as well, so indestructible and flying onto this thing. The first dragon comes down in the form of a Shapeshifter, Taurian Mauler. And then it's Sylvia Brightspear to give those creatures double strikes, so this is going to be a huge double striker by the time the turn goes back round. Entry denied. Return a creature with mana value 3 or less to hand, so that's going on the Calyx. Should buy us an extra turn against this thing, and it obviously sees the aura go into the bin as well, which is really good. And then it's a Rattleclaw Mystic for our opponent, so it has the Ballooner's Gatekeeper in exile. Just a vanilla 6/5 and some 4/4 commander damage in at Calyx. Okay, Rite of Replication, so let's use Boseiju as a land, and I think we can just go for this as a 3 mana creature, because it'll only be a 1/3, but it'll get buffed by the Brenard if we get that in next turn, so then that'll tap for 3, and we'll be able to get down the Curiosity Crafter maybe, for any point when there's no tokens available. Yeah, maybe just go for the Bronze Guardian then. Now that we've got the Rite of Replication, it would be funny to get down the Curiosity Crafter and make a bunch of copies of this. They enable themselves as tokens. Mirari's Wake going to tap all the lands down for 2 mana. Noteworthy left is colourless mana open, so doesn't want to hold up interaction for 2 mana seemingly. Knight Exemplar, so it's Knights and Dragons maybe this? Anyway, it gives this indestructible, and this is obviously a knight as well, so double strike and indestructible on there. See Dragon Tempest as well, 3 cards in hand, and struggling a little bit on mana, especially if we manage to get a board wipe off. A Wirewood Savage, so yeah, looking like it's Changeling tribal, that type of deck. This one cares about beasts, so a couple of beasts in play in the form of the Universal Automaton and the Taurian. And then that can ping this thing because a dragon just entered, the Universal Automaton, and they drew a card to playing the beast as well. Still not managing to play a land though, so it's 7 double strike damage over at the Enchantress player, probably a good idea. Not going in with this, it could have been 20 damage over there. Be interesting if we had the mana with Rite of Replication, we could make a bunch of copies of this as well, and they'd all give each other a +1 buff multiple times and indestructible. Fertile Footsteps gets an untapped basic into play. Noteworthy as well that thanks to the Changelings, this thing can see more allies, so could be that the Eldraine comes down next turn. Okay, maybe hoping to see a board wipe here, the Ballooner, turning sideways, not holding itself up as a blocker. Alright, an Arcane Adaptation. I was looking at going for the Rite of Replication onto this thing, just so that we get a couple of indestructibles that we can block something like this with, and getting into an Arcane Adaptation to make them golems makes that more tempting, so yeah, let's go for that for just 4 mana. So there we can see we've now got a couple of 3/3 indestructible first strikers, and we'll hold back here. Not doing anywhere close to as well as I have done in this deck. That might be a means of getting more tokens into play in order to chump block Sigil of the Empty Throne, and throwing out the Calyx again. So that's an enchantment creature, obviously cantrips, and gets another angel into play. And now we see Song of the Dryads. That will turn this into a land, so don't have to worry about it attacking in anymore. So Calyx managing to stay in it. Imperial Recruiter for the tribal deck. Will you allowed to say that anymore? Tribal. What is it they say in R&D? Is it typal? Did they start saying typal? I'll change the name of the channel to tribalkai, shall I? Now going for Flanking Harbinger. We'll search for an elemental and put it on top. And it's Morophon they put on top. They went for Flamekin Harbinger with the Imperial Recruiter. Got some nice lines in this deck apparently. Chromatic Lantern will fix the colours. Obviously have an additional mana from the Taurian Mauler. One card left in hand. And the 3/3 double striker heads in to the right. Alright, Swarm Intelligence is a good means of going off. Well, the mana struggles continue. Yeah, should have gone for this instead of the Bronze Guardian all that time ago. I think we'll just have to go for it here. Rogue's Passage for our opponent. I think he's looking to go Voltron with the Calyx. Swords to Plowshares going on to the Ballooner over here, which puts the Seek Thrills back into the command zone with this thing available. Another Enchantress, the Verduran Enchantress this time. Followed by another one in Sithis, Harvest's Hand. That one will gain bits of life, which could be useful to our opponent. Obviously continuing to make angels over here. This is why it's important to go after the Enchantress player with fast mana. Even with only 9 life, he could get back into this. An Astral Mask onto a flyer now as well. +2/+2 for each other enchantment on the entire battlefield, not just on this side of the field. Each of his opponents controls 1 enchantment. Drawing up to 8 in hand, still has 5 floating. And that jumps up to a 23/23. Fertile Ground ramps and draws a bunch of cards. Everything turning sideways against the adventure player. I'm not sure why he's so worried about the adventure player. I'd be looking at the Dragon if I was my opponent. Maybe it's simply the Swarm Intelligence he was thinking of, or maybe it's just the fact that he had exactly enough to take him out, but down he goes, down to 0. There is a copy of the Mirari's Wake now. Morophon into play after our opponent shooted that up previously. That triggers the Dragon Tempest, which goes directly at our opponent, draws a card to the Wirewood Savage as well. Followed by Tiamat, one of the best dragon commanders there is and doesn't get anywhere near enough praise. Don't think our opponent's going to be able to finish him off with the Dragon Tempest though, unfortunately. Got some Flying Angels in play. The Sigil of the Empty Throne's really got our opponent back into this one. Able to get down another dragon in the form of a Moth Dust Changeling, so if he has enough small creatures he might be able to get rid of him. Revealed a Masked Vandal as well, Mirror Entity, Mistwalker, and an Amoeboid Changeling, so yeah, should be able to get him here actually. Throwing out the Mistwalker. Pretty cool deck our opponent's got. And down he goes. Amoeboid Changeling into play. So now it's 6 cards in our opponent's hand thanks to the Savage. Now it's Mirror Entity into play and our opponent will be able to likely go wide on us next turn. Been way too slow this game. Go down to 24 to the enchantment. Alright, able to get down the Masked Vandal as well. Obviously targeting the Anointed Procession with that. Not sure if he's... no, he doesn't have anything in the bin to exile that. Shoots us down to 15 and not sure if our opponent can get us here. Yeah, he can hit us with the double striking Tiamat because we don't have any flyers, so our opponent does have us this turn. Yeah, the cheap Changeling's doing some work here. Getting down a Mana Weft Sliver after that. Obviously the Changelings are slivers just like they are allies for the Druid. Not allowed to say Druid anymore either apparently. Also playing Catilda because that is relevant with its tribes as well. 2 cards left in hand. Gets down another dragon in the form of Realm Walker. Get knocked down to 5 by the Realm Walker. And then it is a regular cohort, so that is 2 dragons for the price of 1. 4 mana for that, and yeah, draw a couple and deal the damage with Dragon Tempest to finish us off. Alright, so that was a pretty cool deck from our opponent. Hopefully you all enjoyed watching it. Huge thanks go out to the patrons for their consistent support of the channel as well. They're pretty much the only thing keeping me around at this point, so a big thank you to them. If you'd like to consider donating on Patreon as well, in order to help me keep making videos, then I'd be eternally grateful to you all for that. Link is in the description as ever. I'm Tribalkai. Thank you for watching.